Alright guys, so you're welcome back to Slickademia, and today we are starting up with Kingdom Plantae. We have initially discussed the three other kingdoms under the five kingdom system. We have discussed Kingdom Monera. We have also gone on to discuss Kingdom Protista, and we've also discussed Kingdom Fungi. So today we'll be discussing Kingdom Plantae. Here we are talking about all the plants all over the world. So we are going to look at the general characteristics of the Kingdom Plantae. The first one is that they are eukaryotic. I've explained what eukaryotic organisms mean in my previous videos. So if you are yet to understand it, you may want to click on the link at the top of this video and go back to where I discussed about eukaryotic cells, where I explained eukaryotic cells and prokaryotic cells in my previous video. And they are multicellular organisms. That means they are not made up of only one cells, but they are made up of a group of cells that come together. And they contain chlorophyll, and because of this presence of chlorophyll, they can carry out photosynthesis. They are predominantly land dwelling. Predominantly does not mean that all are land dwelling, meaning that majority of them can be found on land, but we also have some of them that can be found in aquatic environments. And also most have waxy cortical, that's a thick outer covering which enables them to actually survive drying out. So it helps them to prevent them from drying out. And they are not mobile. Remember, we mentioned that plants do not move their whole bodies, so they are not mobile. And they have cell wall. In this case, when we talked about fungi, we said that their cells are made up of chitin, but here in this case of plants, their cell walls are made up of cellulose. Okay, so the Kingdom Plantae can also be divided into three main divisions. We have the Thallophyta. Under the Thallophyta, we have the green algae, which is also known as the chlorophyta. And then we have the brown algae, which is also known as the phycophyta. And then we have the red algae, which is also known as the rhodophyta. Then we also have the Bryophyta. Under here, we have liverworts and mosses. And then we have the Tracheophyta. These are plants that we call vascular plants because they contain the vascular tissues, xylem and phloem. Xylem for conducting water and phloem for conducting food. So under the Thallophyta, their general characteristics include that they are microscopic plants. That means they can be seen with the naked eye. They are simple aquatic plants and they reproduce both sexually and asexually. And they have no true nucleus, no true stem, no true leaves. Okay, and algae are mainly autotrophic because they have the organelle chloroplasts, which contains chlorophyll, so they can actually produce their own food through photosynthesis. So they are autotrophic plants. And here we have the red algae, the rhodophytes, the chlorophytes, and the phycophytes. And they are thread-like, filamentous. Some are also flat, like thallus, of course, going back to their name, Thallophyta. And their cells are not differentiated into tissues. All right, example, we have the Spirogyra, we have the Volvox, and we have the Sargassum. Now, these are examples of the organisms that we mentioned. This is a Spirogyra, exists in filamentous form, and then this is the Volvox. Some people refer to it as the globe algae. All right, you can see it looks like a globe. All right. Then we have division Bryophyta. Under here we have the liverworts and mosses. Now they are complex multicellular green plants and their cells are differentiated into tissues. Remember, the Thallophytes, their cells are not differentiated into tissues, but the Bryophytes, their cells are differentiated into tissues. That means their cells are specialized. Now they come together to begin to work on a specific function. And then they do not have true roots. They only have rhizoids. Okay, rhizoids are like more like an alternative form of a root. They can absorb some minerals and water, but not as much as the roots. And they are non-vascular plants. That means they do not have the tissues, conducting tissues, xylem and phloem. Remember, I said the xylem is for conducting water and the phloem is for conducting food. And they are small, usually found in damp places. They exhibit asexual reproduction by spore formation, and there is also alternation of generation and also sexually by gametes. Now, in the liverworts and mosses, there's what we call alternation of generation. Okay, here we have the gametophytes and then we have the sporophytes. All right, now the gametophytes is the sexual part of the generation that it produces. It is predominant in mosses and liverworts. Now, the sporophyte part of it is where you produce spores. Okay, now, the spores are dependent on the gametophytes, which produces sex cells. That's the male and female sex cells. So the sporophyte is dependent on the gametophytes. So remember, alternation of generation here, and it involves two generation or two forms, the gametophyte and the sporophyte. Why the gametophyte is predominant in mosses and liverworts. Now, some bryophytes are terrestrial while others are aquatic. Already we have mentioned that liverworts and mosses are a major group of the division Bryophyta, and this is the liverworts and this are the mosses. Then the vascular plants are all classified under the group Tracheophyta. Okay, so we see a stepwise division or classification. Now, under the Tracheophyta, it is divided further into two: the pteridophyta, that is the seedless plants, and then the spermatophyta, that is the seed-bearing plants. Now, when it comes to the spermatophyta, it is further divided into two: that is the gymnosperms and the angiosperms. And the angiospermia, under the angiospermia, it is further divided into two. We have the monocotyledons and the dicotyledons. Alright, before I continue, please do not forget to like and share and comment. Thank you very much as you do this. So let us now go on further and discuss the Tracheophyta and their various divisions. Now, the first division of the Tracheophyta, which are the ferns, the seedless plants. Okay, so let's look at their general characteristics. They have true leaves, they have true stems, and they have true roots. Now, their stem contains vascular tissues, meaning they have xylem and phloem, and their stem have rhizomes. They produce spore-forming bodies, and they rely on water for reproduction. So the ferns are a typical example of seedless plants. You can see it here. And then we move on to the next one, which is the seed-bearing plants, also known as the spermatophyta. All right, they have well-developed roots, stems, and leaves, just like the pteridophyta, because all of them are obviously vascular plants, and they have well-developed vascular tissues. That means the xylem and the phloem. They have the male gametes are contained within an embryo sac. So their male gametes are contained within an embryo sac, and the product of fertilization in sexual reproduction is a seed. So after fertilization is production of a seed, and this seed might be enclosed within a fruit or not. So this is the basis for the further division of the spermatophyta, in which those plants that produce seeds that are naked are put in a different group, and those other plants that produce seeds that are enclosed within a fruit are put in a different group. And they are the most successful and common of all land plants. Okay, so remember, the spermatophyta may produce seeds that are naked and also may produce seeds that are enclosed within a fruit. So, and this is the basis in which they were further divided into gymnospermia and angiospermia. So the gymnospermia, also known as the conifers, are the plants that produce seeds without fruit enclosure. So they are the naked seed plants. Their seeds are not enclosed within a fruit, and they have small needle-like shaped leaves with waxy cuticle. Remember, we've seen the word waxy cuticle before. It helps to prevent them from drying out, and they are evergreen. That means they can photosynthesize all year round. Their seeds are found in cones, and conifers have been imported in West Africa and has been used for different purposes, including ornamental purposes. So this is a typical example of conifer. An example is the pine tree, and these particular brownish materials are the cones that we are talking about. All right, so this is a typical example of the conifer or the gymnospermia. All right, so we go to the seed, the ones that are enclosed within a fruit, which is the angiospermia. All right, also known as the flowering plants. Now, they have well-developed xylem and phloem tissues. They form the largest group in the plant kingdom, and they have flowers as reproductive organs. So anytime you see the flowers, it shows that the plant is ready to bear fruits, and their seeds are enclosed in a fruit. Now, this particular seed, based on this seed also, the angiospermia is divided into two. So it is either a monocotyledon or a dicotyledon. Cotyledon simply means a seed leaf. So if the particular seed is made up of only one seed leaf or contains only one seed leaf, it is a monocotyledon. But if it contains two, then it is a dicotyledon. So on this basis, the angiospermia was further divided into monocots and dicots. So let's quickly dive into the characteristics of the monocots. Now, the leaves are generally long and thin with parallel veins. Now, this is a typical example of a monocot plant, the maize plant. So you can actually look at it. And they exhibit hypogeo germination, and they are often wind pollinated. Okay. Most of the times wind pollinated plants are not actually, their flowers are not actually very colorful, but those pollinated by insects have very colorful flowers to attract the insects. Okay, so they have fibrous root system, and you could see the fibrous root system here, and the vascular bundles of the stem are scattered. So their vascular bundles here, we are talking about the xylem and the phloem, are scattered. They are not organized, and the embryo has only one seed leaf. That's the cotyledon, obviously from where the name comes from, monocotyledons. And their floral parts exist in groups of three. We have example maize plants, we have rice, we have oil palm trees, and then the rest of them. So we go over to the next one, which is the dicots. Okay, they are often insect pollinated. The monocots are wind pollinated. Now the dicots are insect pollinated. They have a taproot system, unlike the fibrous root system of the monocots, and their embryo has two seed leaf, unlike the one seed leaf that can be found in the monocots. Their leaves have veins which are arranged in branched network. That one's theirs is parallel. Their venation is parallel venation, while that of the dicot is network venation. So we have it undergoes epigeo germination, while that of the monocots is hypogeo germination. Now we have the stem contains a ring of vascular tissues. Remember, why that of the monocot is scattered, why this is organized in a concentric form, that is in a ring. Now their floral parts exist in group of 4 or 5. Remember, the floral parts of the monocots exist in group of 3s. Now examples is hibiscus, Ipomea batatas, which Ipomea, and then pawpaw. So you can see here, this is a pawpaw plant. All right, a typical example of a dicotyledon. This is where we call it a day for today. Remember to keep up with us in our next class as we discuss the kingdom Animalia. Thank you very much. Keep sharing, keep commenting, keep liking, and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in my next class.